Welcome back to the Mothers-in-Law, where we talk honestly about motherhood, caregiving, leadership, and the legal profession. Today's episode is a little bit different, and it's one that I've been especially excited to have. I'm joined by John Polzer, the managing partner of Duane Morris's Dallas and Fort Worth offices. He is a proud father of four and recently named one of the best lawyers in America for 2026. John is our very first, very brave father-in-law guest, and he brings exactly the perspective that this conversation needs. A law firm leader who's intentional about listening to mothers, supporting working parents, and challenging the idea that caregiving is women's work. He even listens to the Mothers-in-Law podcast as part of that effort. Today, we're talking about fatherhood, invisible labor, law firm culture, and how leaders can make the profession more sustainable for moms and dads. John, thank you so much for being here.
Welcome to The Mothers-in-Law, a podcast exploring the demanding world of being a mother and a lawyer. Join my mom, Carrie Fogliani, as she shares real-life stories and practical tips to help you find joy and balance in your life. Let's embark on this journey of community and support together. This show is sponsored by General Counsel West, a law firm that supports companies transforming healthcare comprised of mothers and fathers practicing law.
Welcome back to the Mothers-in-Law, where we are really talking honestly about motherhood and caregiving and leadership in the legal profession. And today's episode, you'll notice, is a little bit different, and one that I've been very excited to have. We have our first very brave father-in-law who has decided that he is coming on this show. His name is John Polzer. He is the managing partner of Duane Morris in Dallas and Fort Worth offices. He is a very proud father of four and actually been recently named one of the best lawyers in America for 2026. I already knew that. He is one of my favorite lawyers to work with and my go-to for really trusted advice and with clients that I care deeply about. So that is how I got to know John, who has really been so courageous in coming on today and share a really important perspective that I think we need to fixate on. He is a law firm leader who is intentional about listening to mothers and supporting working parents. And he's challenging that idea that caregiving is only women's work by his own actions in his own family. And he even listens to the Mothers-in-Law podcast as part of this effort. So we're talking about fatherhood, invisible labor, law firm culture, and how leaders can make the profession more sustainable for moms and for dads.
Well, thanks for having me, Carrie. I do listen to the podcast, so it'll be when it pops up on my feed and I see my name. That's gonna be a weird moment, but
yes. Well, it's a very proud moment for us because I think you're bringing to the conversation something so important. And I honestly was very almost taken aback by you sharing that you listened in sort of as part of your efforts in a law firm in a very high leadership role to be thoughtful about how we approach parents, especially mothers who are coming back, going out on leave. And I think we'll get into that conversation, because I think you have such an important perspective. So I do thank you for taking the time, also for being here.
I think the timing was great. We were working together and you just happened to send me, when we concluded a matter, mothers-in-law Yeti cup, right? And this was last year. And, the timing was great, Carrie, because I looked at it and I said, I'm going to listen to this. And what I started to think about was I knew I was going to be taking over the role of managing these women in my office that, are moms, could be moms, maybe they're thinking about being moms. And I thought, wow, this is a great way for me to get perspective on what I'm about to walk into and being in the leadership of this office. So it was really great timing. And as we've discussed, I've really enjoyed the women that have come on, and I've learned a lot from them.
It's so amazing. Well, we're excited for all that you can share and help teach us today from your vantage point. So I did want to kind of step back a little bit, because one of the wonderful things about this show is we get to know the people that are open to sharing their wisdom and advice. And I just would love to learn how you chose a career in the law, if you were one of those people that thought about this since third grade, or how you kind of came into your professional path.
Yeah, no, I would say I thought about it probably at the last minute. I come from a family of salesmen on my dad's side, and my mom was a teacher. And so as some of your listeners may remember, I would graduate at the University of Texas in 2002. So if you were in Texas in the spring of 2002, we were dealing not only with 9/11 and the economy after 9/11, but we were also dealing with the fallout from the Enron scandal.
Mm,
And
right.
so the job market in Texas for graduates in 2002 was not good.
Mm,
So at the last minute, I just kind of decided to take the LSAT and look at law school. So it wasn't a plan. I certainly don't have any family that were lawyers. It just kind of looked like a good option. And my mom who was a wonderful elementary school teacher for almost 40 years, really pressed myself and my sisters to get further education.
mm.
So she was happy about it. My sister actually went on and got her PhD, and she's a tenured professor at TCU. And my other sister got her master's degree, and she's in the education space as well. So I think if you ask my mom what she's most proud of, it's that we got to do what she didn't get to do. She
Mhm.
wanted more education, and we were able to get that education. So while it wasn't my plan, I was ready to get out and
Yeah.
start making money as a 22-year-old. It didn't work out that way. Went to 3 more years of school, but it's turned out okay.
Yeah. No, you've had such an incredible career, and in addition to all your awesome credentials, I think taking your management role and looking at it from this vantage point, and obviously you've been surrounded by very strong women, so I think that's probably
Yeah,
also part of what makes you unique in how you see these issues. So I think that's incredible.
yeah.
At what point in your career did you decide that it was a great time to bring kids into the picture? Where were you professionally
Yeah,
at
I
that
would say
point?
I was 32 when my
Okay.
first daughter was born, so I was 7 years in. So
Okay. Okay.
I definitely had a period of time where I was, as a young litigator in a busy firm, going in 6, 7 days a week and just kind of learning by doing. And so, yeah, I was a little bit down the road, but still an associate.
Yeah.
And then we had twins in 2015. And then my surprise child, my daughter Genevieve, was born 3.5 years ago. So there's an
Wow.
8 year gap there.
Amazing. So you
So
have it
yeah,
every season you're kind of tackling
that's
at the same time.
yeah. I mean, it's an interesting dynamic right now with a 13-year-old and a 3-year-old. I mean, it's
Yes.
in some ways they're very similar. So
That's a
we may
very good
have to cut that part
observation.
out of my daughter. Here's this, by
Yeah,
the
no, it's okay. It's okay. In the best of ways. No, it
yeah,
helps to manage both sides. I think that's a really interesting point.
yeah,
Do you think that, obviously litigation, as you mentioned, is one of, I think, the most demanding um, aspects of the legal profession? And how, with 4 children, you're, in the middle of a trial, it requires a lot of your time and attention, yet you still have to transition into your home life. How do you balance this? How does that work for you and your family?
yeah. I just try and make it a priority, and I would say starting with just the uncertainty of it all. I travel a good amount, but we just finished baseball season here, and I coached my boys in baseball and basketball. I coached my daughter in basketball, the older one. So I've always been tried to not only be there, but be there to coach them,
That's
which has been
amazing.
a lot of fun. But it's just hustling around. I mean, two of the last three baseball games, I was lugging my suitcase in from DFW Airport
Oh, wow.
directly to the baseball field from the Uber, and running in to start the game. So it wasn't. It's just some hustle and hoping that the planes are on time. But I think other than
That's
that,
right.
it's just planning. I mean, it's you have to find the time to do the work, and it's for me. I usually get up early
Yeah.
and try and get done what I can get done, and then just try and be really efficient at work, which may sound basic, but I'm not on social media. I do take a peek, at ESPN if
Yeah.
there's sports or something going on, but I really try to take my time at work and get the work done. And that may sound obvious, but when you're dealing with a schedule where you've got to leave at 5:30, get to a practice, pick somebody up, get to a game, that when you get there at 8 or whenever you get there, you got to be really efficient with your time.
Yeah.
Um, so some of it's just making it happen. You kind of know where you got to be, and you just do your best. And it may be a late night flight or a really early morning flight, that kind of things that puts some stress on your schedule. But
Yeah.
again, as all the parents that listen to this know, I mean, we all know it goes fast. And there's going to be a time in the not too distant future where I wish I was running home to a baseball game. And because it'll be done, it'll be gone. So,
No, it's a really important perspective, like the season and how, someone said this to me recently, and I think it really does apply to how we support and perceive how we can support parents in this space. Our careers are very long.
yeah.
Probably, hopefully, if we're lucky, 40, maybe more for
Yep.
some of us that'll
Yep.
be working longer. And this time with our kids, when you look back and the balancing, the suitcase running from the airport to the base, that's going to be a short period. But it takes a lot of energy and planning to do that. Do you ever when you're not able to do that, how do you manage that with your kids? Because I think that
We,
disappointment that comes through because there are times when we cannot do it. We cannot show up. How do you
yeah. And
manage that
we've
part?
talked about this in conversations. I mean, the guilt goes to the dad side too. I mean, I feel guilt if I miss things, if I've got to be out of town and miss something. I definitely feel guilt. But I think what it's done as my kids have gotten older, I've started to explain to them where I'm going and what I'm doing. I mean, my favorite part of the day is taking them to school in the morning. I mean, it's great for me because I get out of bed. I'm in the office before 8. But that time that we have in the car together in the morning, there's some just great conversations about what we're going to do. And I started including what I'm going to do. Hey, I'm going to go do this today. I'm going to go do that today. Hey, guys, I've got to go to Los Angeles or Nashville or DC for something. And I'm saying, this is why I'm doing it, so that they have a little bit of understanding about what dad's doing and why he's gone. And I think now that my oldest 3 are 11 and 13, we could talk about that. And I think they have a little bit of understanding that dad's not just gone, he's off doing it. And then, I have started to sprinkle in, and I don't know if this is good or bad, but it's just kind of happening about, and dad's doing this to support you,
Yeah.
right? And then so it's like you feel like as they get older, they can take a little bit more of kind of the real world stuff. And I'm starting to sprinkle in like, this isn't fun for me either, but
Yeah.
my job as one of your parents is to take care of you.
Yeah.
And today that means I got to go do this or whatever it is.
I think showing them what hard work looks like. And I think the narrative at that age is super important. I do remember you telling me a funny story that one of your sons shared about, I can't remember if it was a cloning opportunity or something of that nature.
Yeah.
Why don't you share about that? I love that
Yeah,
story.
he said to me a couple years ago, I was especially busy and I had to be gone, and they wanted to go do something on the weekend, and I think I was flying out of town on a Sunday afternoon, and he's 11 now, Andrew, and he was probably 6 or 7, but he said to me, he said, "Dad, I've got a great idea. We're gonna have you be the dad that stays at home, and then we're gonna get a different dad that just goes to work every day." And he thought that would solve the problem because he understood that I needed to go to work, but he also wanted me to be at home. And so he's always just get one more dad that he'll just go do the
Yeah,
work
it's
and you'll stay
brilliant.
here. You know?
It's really brilliant. I think there's something to that. I think it also does speak to the reality of how hard it is for we do want to be that. We want to be the
Yeah.
person that can be in both places at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think, a lot of the mothers that have shared that tension between wanting to feel great at work and wanting to feel great at home, or the opposite of that is feeling terrible at work and feeling terrible at home. Does that also resonate for dads, or is it different?
I think it's, well, I mean, I can't speak to the mother experience. I do think there's some unique things that mothers face and that the kids want them only at sometimes. And I've definitely experienced that, but I think it does, that is true on my side as well. And it's one of those things you have to fight through and deal with, and you keep pressing forward. But like you said earlier, I think the benefit is, and this is what, I hope that people perceive me to be a hard worker, but I saw my parents and how hard they worked. I mean, I saw my mom get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. She'd make a dinner and put it in the fridge and leave us a Post-it note that when we got back from school, put it in the oven at 4 o'clock for 45 minutes at 3:50, and that would we had our dinner. But she had to get up early to do that. She had to get up early to finish her schoolwork because when she got home, we'd have to have dinner and then run to sports. And my dad was traveling a lot in sales, so a lot of times it was just us, the 3 of us, and my mom. And I just saw her working basically nonstop,
Yeah.
as my dad did as well. But but was talking about when my mom was kind of doing both the home and the work together,
Yeah.
and having that perception of work ethic has always stayed with me, and I appreciate her to this day. And I think, Carrie, one of the things that I feared in this podcast is that it would just turn into a complete, I don't know, shrine, or I would talk about my mom the whole time, right? Because
We
she
love that.
she's really wonderful. She really is such a great example for all of us.
Yeah, well, I think she also, instilled in you not only the work ethic, but the awareness and, what it took to kind of create a life for your kids where you also, I mean, having a working parent and trying to figure it all out, especially on and we've talked about it on this podcast as well, when your partner is traveling, it's really difficult. Right?
Yeah,
It adds a totally different element to how hard this can become. So I think knowing that you witnessed someone manage through that, I'm sure has
right,
driven kind of the way you perceive it in your role, even in your, what I call your everyday moments, like your
right,
commitment to that for your kids.
right.
Because I do think carpools are important. Those are
Yeah,
like, we have limited time with our kids. Like, how do you, and I know you're narrating and you're sharing, but, and even by the coaching, are there other ways that have been really valuable for you as a dad with kind of, because my perception is dads really have less time to access with their kids than some moms do, given the nature of our roles sometimes. How do you make sure that that's quality time?
yeah. I try. I mean, I really. We'll go back to the school part, the taking to school. Like that is time that I actually told them this morning. Today was their last day of school,
Mm,
and I was like,
that's
I'm
right.
sad because for the next 2.5 months, I'll get up by myself, and everyone in the house will remain asleep, and
Yeah.
I'll just go to work. But the reality is, I'll be sad that we don't have the conversations that we usually have, and we'll talk about things they're studying. We'll talk about my day. I try and get them to open up and chat with me, and then I always tell them right when I drop them off, I said every day to them, I said, I love you, proud of you, and go dominate. And
Oh,
because I want them to feel loved, supported, but then I have expectations that I
yeah.
want them to go do well,
Yeah.
And I
That
said that to them
calming.
every day, and they roll their eyes, and
Oh, yeah.
but that's our refrain when they get out of the car: love you, proud of you, go
I
dominate.
love it.
You know,
And they'll be saying that to somebody else and not too far in the future. So I love that. That's a great tradition.
I don't know about that. I mean, I don't. I wonder how much they actually hear, but I guess time will tell.
Well, from what I understand, in talking to people that are further along the journey than we are, they're actually listening more than we think they are. So that's
Yeah, I
encouraging to
hope
me.
so.
I keep saying it is my point. Keep saying
Yep.
it. Um, so I think one of the other topics that I do want to kind of get to sort of what's happening in the real world with your firm, but I also want to just highlight because I have a very engaged husband. My dad was very engaged. He definitely stands out in my memory of like showing up, picking up, kind of being present as you were, but he wasn't like every other professional man out there. He
Yeah.
was leaving work. He was leaving work to be with his kids and his family. So I was just curious, you know, from that perspective of societal norm, which I don't even like that term, but like, do you ever come across anyone rolling their eyes at you for why are you doing that? Like, you don't need to be doing that, or like, something from that side of the
Yeah.
fence
I
that
mean,
a lot of times we think is reserved for the moms having to go, but do you ever get that sort of experience?
I've had comments over the years, from I would say mostly it's older lawyers, if I had to guess. But that they'll be like, "What?" We would talk about what we were doing. I was like, "Oh, I couldn't get the call. I was, giving my daughter a bath, or I was making the lunch for my kids tomorrow," and they would just be like shocked that I was doing that. They're like, "What? Why are you doing
Yeah.
that?"
Yeah.
And um, so I don't know. This is a way for me to interact with them. If I'm home with them and we're all sitting around the kitchen, we say, "Hey, let's knock out the lunches for tomorrow. What do we all want?
Let's do it
What everybody
together. Make
wants
it
to
a
do?"
team
And
sport. Yeah.
right. And
Yeah.
like the 3-year-old now, like, I mean, we're really busy with my boys and sports and my daughters in dance, but that time kind of getting her ready for bed is a chance for me to spend time with her.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I've definitely gotten comments like that. I would say it's happening less and less, which is good.
That's nice.
And maybe that's because my generation is becoming the older generation.
They're doing
Um,
You're
That
doing the doing. I mean, that's one of my questions is like for that younger next generation coming up, where it
yeah,
feels like it's changing. We're constantly in a state of change, hopefully for the better. That's kind of the goal of this podcast, is to help people find ways to do it better than we did it. But what would you say to a young dad who is really wanting to gun for his career, but wants to have a family, but it's still hard, even from that perspective, to know when's the right time to do it and what are the pitfalls that maybe you would recommend they try to avoid?
yeah, it is hard, and it's also hard to know when to say, well, I'm going to go do this or that versus just finding a way to get it done. Like, I mean, it's almost like you have to know still in this world who your audience is, because there are some people that may be very receptive to hearing, oh, you know what, I'm going to go to my daughter's dance recital tonight, and so I'll get this back to you in the morning.
Yeah.
Versus just saying, I'm going to get this to you in the morning or whatever. I mean,
Right.
you know, how much you want to introduce. I still think, unfortunately, we are in a world where you have to be aware of your audience still. I know one of the things that I'm trying to promote with the people I work with is, you know, in litigation, we certainly have crazy things that happen. But, you know, a lot of what we do, there are 30-day deadlines, 20-day deadlines. And I always say, hey, there's going to be a time when I need you on the night and the weekend, but it's only if we absolutely have to, because the rest of the time we can plan, you
Yeah.
know, we can plan this out to where, hey, if you have a doctor's appointment, if you have stuff you need to deal with, like we've looked at our schedule and we just plan around it, and we have
Yeah.
enough time in the schedule if we, you know, are efficient in communicating, to do it all. And so I guess I kind of deviated a little bit from your question, but you know, talking to dads, I think it's probably such a generic statement, but you just have to manage your time,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you know, if you're going to take the practice time to coach a team from 5 to 7 or 5 to 8, I think you just have to be realistic that you have to make it up elsewhere, to get the job done. And what I would say to those people, and what I always think is, you know, hey, that's okay, right? I would rather be able to do that than have to pick one. And I think a
Absolutely.
lot of times you don't have to pick one, if you're willing to manage your time. And now, of course, there's times when that's not the case. So I know people that have, you know, dealing with a TRO or something that happens at the last minute, you get thrown into something. Not always the case.
Yeah.
I'd say more often than not, if you plan, it can be the case.
Yeah. And I think what we've talked about before, which I loved, the uncertainty, the unexpectations, all the things that we can't control have helped us be really good parents. like,
Yeah. Yeah.
navigating that, planning ahead, figuring out your schedule, right? That bleeds so nicely into what it's like to be in the
Yeah.
midst of having a career and having a family. Like this is a constant, there's a mental exhaustion that comes with it that we're all very aware of, and you say it, and I believe you that you approach it in a calm manner, but there's just rolling with the punches essentially, and reallocating your resources in order to be present in a way that's meaningful for you, whatever that is.
It,
If you're
it'd be interesting to see which way it truly goes. If the patience, that you learn as a parent helps you as a lawyer, or if the constant juggling of a million different things as a lawyer helps you as a parent. I don't know. It may go both ways,
It could
but
be. I mean, it's a good
you know,
study. I'm sure someone maybe has already done this, but I do
yeah,
feel like the wonderful thing about parenthood is that in trying to, it's going to teach you things that you can apply anywhere, but especially, as lawyers, like I think it's softened some of us,
yep,
it's helped us be empathetic differently. Are there any other things that you think, after welcomed your first child, that it shifted your thinking about your career, your profession, what kind of success meant to you?
yeah, it for sure did. I think just this idea that you're just on this career ladder that has like this arc, right? That's just always the same. But you have this like other part of your life now that becomes like extremely important, and it does give balance to your life. And that I'm sure we've all experienced it. We come home from a really bad day at work, and especially the little ones who are happy to see you. You know, sometimes the big ones are happy too. Sometimes they're not.
Yeah,
Sometimes they don't acknowledge you either way.
yeah, that's
Um,
okay.
but I had a lot of good moments. I remember for a long time, my oldest daughter, she would hear the garage open, and she
Mm,
would come running out every day, and I'll never forget that. I mean, no matter
yeah,
how bad of a day that I had, to see her running out, you know, to greet me, was a great moment. So
Oh, no, that definitely is touching. I mean, it's so, and to carry those moments when you work so hard for them, with them, and to have those memories, like I feel like that's where my son's 15 now, and there was no running, towards me with
yeah,
enthusiasm, Although last night, I'm just gonna, for the record, I'm a goofball, and I was honking as he was going into water polo practice with all his friends,
yep,
and I was expecting to completely ignore me. And then all of a sudden, I see this thing out of my rearview mirror, this running back towards the car, and he's smiling. And I'm like, what? Like, did you
yeah,
forget your Speedo or your goggles? He's like, no,
yeah,
he gave me a kiss goodbye on the cheek. I was like, oh my God, I was worried that something was going to happen to me bad after I
yeah,
left. Like, it was like those are the moments that you're like, okay, okay. Like, it helps just to heal how intense this experience is. But when you mention your daughter, and a lot of us, of course, when we have sons, it's an exciting event. When I had a daughter, it was an exciting event, and it shifted how I was perceiving myself as a professional.
yeah.
Um, and what opportunities I want to make sure that, but all my kids have, and definitely my daughter, it shifted how I approach her.
Yeah.
I wanted to know, especially as you are leading a company, you have a daughter, if she wanted to ever be a lawyer, does that ever come through in how you're looking at what things look like now and how you want them to look differently in the future?
Yeah, I think about it all the time, and I think the older you get, the more you kind of look at the younger lawyers as not your children, but people that you want to help develop, kind of like in a parental type role,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, and so I often think about that for both my girls. Would they be able to come into a situation like this and have the full life that they want to have, right? And that's really what we're after here. I mean, we want people to be able to be a mom, be able to be a professional, right, and not feel like it's a choice. Or I think more relative to where we're at right now is not feel like if you kind of get off that track that you can't come back on, or
Yeah.
there's not a way to deal with that gap when your kids are younger or whatever it may be. Like, you don't have to exit the profession, you don't have to exit the firm,
Yeah.
right?
And
We've
that's
got a way to
happening.
deal with just
Yeah.
that part of people's careers.
Yeah. And it's one of the things I've definitely learned through this podcast, even like there's a recent study, this Catalyst study, that said in the last 6 or 8 months, 500,000 women, I think they were all mothers, but definitely women, left the workforce,
Yeah,
left, just done. And, I think building infrastructures within these organizations that support that ability to be both is super important. And I know a lot of firms, are at least more aware of it. And I'd love for you to share and sort of dig into, stepping into that role as the managing partner and caring like you do, about this. What does that look like? And kind of what is, even Duane Morris in particular doing to sort of navigate this in a different way?
yeah. I think we've got a really wonderful program here, at the firm, and you can look it up. It's the Women's Impact Network for Success, run by Tracy McWright out of our Austin office, which is really, it's an amazing program. And by the way, it's not just, everybody can come. I mean, I go to their meetings.
Oh, awesome.
Um, and we've had a couple of recent events. We had one earlier this week. It's been such a long week. I was going to say last week, but earlier this week, on kind of some different part-time paths and what the firm offers for lawyers in that way. And so we had a lunch webinar that was well attended. We had a large half-day meeting at our firm's annual lawyer meeting in Boca last October. And for a half day, we had some of our women attorneys get up and speak about how their career in athletics and coaching
Oh,
helped
wow.
them as lawyers. And I thought that was fascinating.
That's
I thought it
cool.
was
Yeah.
also just pretty cool to have lawyers that I'd worked with get up there and tell me about their background that I frankly didn't know.
Totally.
And I think there's a lot of talk. Maybe it sides toward like men in sports and the leadership, but this was like, hey, we've got women in sports that have
Yeah.
learned things and done things, and that's given them really great leadership skills as well, and things that have helped them in their practice.
Definitely.
So that program at Duane Morris is very well run. Tracy and Christy before her, and there were many before her that I'm leaving out. I think really gives our women attorneys a chance to meet regularly, to talk about these issues, to learn from each other, and like I said, it's not just limited to women.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's so
it's
great
open
because
it's
then you
open to
can
the
learn
entire
too,
firm.
right? I
Yeah,
mean, that's what's so awesome about, and I love, like, most lawyers are lifelong learners and we love to get more information. And I think the fact that you've like dedicated to learning more about this, and I even, you and I chatted previously that even I have learned a lot about like my own biases, my own, in my
for sure.
role in our firm, in thinking I'm being super helpful and in
Yeah,
crafting a
yeah,
conversation to ensure that that individual knows, like, I want them to be the mom they want to be. But sometimes I don't think I've done it quite right. And so, like, how we learn to do that is a priority. I know you're dedicated to it. I'm dedicated to it.
yeah.
Like, what are things that you think you've learned that might help other people in how to become aware and try to promote handling these things in the best way possible? Because I think that's kind of a challenge for all of us.
Yeah, I mean, I've got all kinds of stories over the years. I would say, more recently we had a woman I work with who's excellent trial attorney, came off a second leave, and she was kind of getting back into things. And then we ended up talking about kind of her desire to really get back into trial work and depositions in court. And we my only not my only, but mistake that I made was when she came back, I kind of assumed that she wanted some time to ramp up and it would be a transition. And but when we actually talked, she was like, "No, I'm ready to go now. Like, I want to get back into this, and this is what I like to do. This is important to me. Don't worry about travel. My husband's got it. And my mistake there, and what I would do next time would be if there was someone in a similar situation, I wouldn't assume anything. I
Yeah.
would just sit down and talk to them about it and say, "Hey, I know you've been out, and what are your goals? What's your capacity? Because we do have a ramp down, ramp up period within our
Yeah. That's
our
nice.
program here, so we don't expect people to just come in and be right back, right?
Crush it.
Um,
Yeah.
um, but at least in this instance, she wanted to do it, and so I would say what I learned from that is, and I think what I will do going forward is, at least the people that I work with in my office, I will just have a conversation with them when I welcome them back and just say, "Hey, kind of where you at? How you feeling? What do you want to do? How can I help?" And I just don't want to make like the assumption that I'm doing what I think is like the caring and thoughtful thing, because I'm just assuming, right? That may or may not be right.
It's so
And
hard. I mean, yeah,
yeah,
I agree. I mean, I think that was kind of a really important shift, even just, and I think there's opportunities to have those conversations where it's just blank slating it, saying, "You
yeah,
tell me," because that's the other great thing I think about, especially female lawyers, is that pretty direct,
yeah,
and for the most part, if given the opportunity, they usually can identify what they need and what they want in a situation, or they might say, "I don't know yet. I am not sure, and I'm just trying to get through every day here." Because we all know what having two kids,
yeah,
that is a difficult experience. And but
sure,
but for some women who have it together, and trust me, I was not this together as many of the guests on this show. They had it planned out. They knew it was going to happen. They had like a discussion with their husband about like who's going to do what. I'm like, higher level, okay? This is
yeah,
not how I did it. But to the credit of this next generation, who can say, "Oh, I want to come back and I want to be all in and I want to travel and I'm ready for this." And you know, it's amazing because some women have even shared, "I do not have any guilt.
yeah.
This is what I
Everybody's
want to do."
different.
It's
Everybody's
amazing.
different. Yeah,
And I was like, it really kind of was awesome for me to say, "Oh my gosh, I don't make any assumptions about that experience anymore." And I think that is probably really sage advice, as you continue to support the attorneys in your firm. So I think that's
and I think
really amazing.
it's probably the one good thing is everybody that knows me knows that I'm like that guy that you just don't want to, like, you don't want to bring up who are your kids, because I'll just go on and talk about them, and so I think the only good thing about that is hopefully everyone around me knows or hope that has an understanding that I would be receptive to these family type conversations because I'm just kind of that obnoxious dad that always
Oh,
talks about my
that's
kid.
not an obnoxious dad. We have to, let's dispel that myth. I think
Yeah,
having
yeah,
a parent proud of their kids and connected with their kids, that is like a
yeah,
role model. And so that's what I feel like. Even what I want to also know is like, I know you're the coach and you're the carpool. Like, any other like tips and tricks about how we connect is so important because that pride comes from love and trust, right? Like your kids, you
yeah.
enjoy them. I
I
can
mean,
tell you enjoy your kids.
yeah, I think it's just spending time together, right? And I was talking to my kids about this the other day because my boys have started to play golf,
Mm,
and um, and I want my daughter to come with us because I was like, this is perfect. There'll be four, there'll be a
yeah.
foursome in golf is the perfect number. So I'm trying to get Claire into golf a little bit, but we started talking about hobbies, and one of them asked me what was my hobby,
Uh-huh.
and I thought about it for a second, and I said, you guys are my hobby. As bad as that sounds, to me, a hobby is what you do in your free time. And in my free time, I spend time with them,
Yeah.
and that really is what I want to do.
Yeah.
I hadn't played golf in many, many years because that is something that would have taken me away from them, for 4 or 5 hours. And that's not to say that people have all kinds of different ways to get away and they need it, especially in the law practice.
Yeah.
This is not an indictment on anyone
Yeah.
that goes to play golf.
No.
Um,
Do what
but
you need to
just,
do. That's what we're saying. Do what you
yeah,
need to do.
but
But yeah.
for whatever reason, that's how I choose to spend my free time. And I think part of it too is like I have had this, and I've talked to dads at our school about this since they were in first grade. We all are very aware of how fast this time goes, right? And all of us are trying to stop it. We've tried to stop it for years.
Yeah.
And yet,
We're not
as
stopping
of
it.
this afternoon, I have two sixth graders and an eighth grader, which is insane.
Oh my God.
And so yeah, that's what I want to do because I know it's fleeting, and I don't ever want to look back because we'll all have regrets, but hopefully I'll have fewer regrets because I've
Yeah.
taken the time that I can with them. So I don't think it's anything specific, Carrie, other than spending time together. I mean, this last couple of weeks I've been helping my daughter study for finals, so that's how we spent time together. I've
Yeah.
gone a couple Sunday nights to play golf with my boys, and that's been fun. We've spent time together. So just trying to find that
Yeah.
whatever it is period of time where we're together, and I'm not at work or traveling, and um, I bring them to work with me on the weekends sometimes, and their mom doesn't let them have Dr. Peppers. They can usually get as many Dr. Peppers up there. I think that's really the reason they come, but I
Hey,
don't care. They're
it's
here.
okay.
They're with me.
Whatever it takes.
So
I think and having that experience, I think also, I mean, I remember as a child going to work with my parents on the weekend. It does instill a work ethic that I also like. Leading by example
yeah,
comes through this. I mean, and I think especially knowing that you're in your, humble beginnings, we're surrounded by a strong work ethic, and then you're carrying on that legacy, but also in a way that, supports that they're with you, they're seeing you work, but you're also sounds like you're having fun with them. So I think that's a really good way to balance it out, you
well,
know.
and you hope that they get it right because my mom
Oof.
grew up in a small town in Wisconsin, and would get picked up by a flatbed truck when she was 10 years old to go pick strawberries and work
Wow.
work in the sun. And then when I was 14 or 15, I was a janitor at a Minyard's grocery store in Arlington. And so now with my kids, those were both kind of involuntary experiences, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah.
We had to work for whatever
Mhm.
reason, and
Yeah.
but now with them, I am very cognizant, and I want them to understand hard work, and that you have to develop that and continue to do that, right?
Mm.
And so I'm not sure how I'm going
How
to
do
get
you
there with
do that?
them.
I know that's my question because, like, especially like
Yeah,
having a janitorial job as a teenager, right? I mean, I am my son's 15. He is getting a job, like, but he's trying to get a job as a surf instructor. Okay, that's very different.
very Newport Beach, by the way.
Very Newport Beach, but that's his dream. That's his personal dream. I actually would prefer it if he had a janitorial job because I
Yeah,
want him to experience real hard work and maybe doing something you don't love, quite
yeah,
honestly, because that's the other thing. I think there's this misconception about work. I mean, I do speak openly with my kids. I love what I do.
yeah,
I love my job. I love healthcare law. I love, you know being responsible for a firm and for the people that are in it, to make sure that all the things. I love that. But there are some days when I actually don't love it, right? That are hard, that are complicated, and I think that raising children to make sure they know
Yeah.
they still have to do the job when they don't like it. Like, do you have any tips on how
Yeah.
to approach that?
Well, my dad, I used to come home, and I mean, this janitor job was such a bad job. My next job was I stocked the shelves at a Kirkland's, which was like a home furnishing store.
Okay.
But I was not allowed like in the store. I had to stay in the back.
Wow. Okay.
But at least it was air conditioned.
Okay. Thank God.
Um,
Okay.
and so that those kind of couple jobs as in my teens. Sometimes I'll reflect on them when I think about working long hours at a law firm. But I'm sitting in a beautiful building in Uptown Dallas. It's air conditioned, and I have coffee when I need it, and I'm
Mm,
doing interesting things. I mean, it is hard work, but
yeah.
so is that stuff I was doing before. and
Totally.
and so that I've had that perspective, and the question now is, how do I pass that on to my children, who frankly probably won't be working for 375 an hour and a janitorial job? And I'm hopeful that we are talking to them about the world and how your little world in North Dallas is not the real world necessarily. And you may see what we're doing today, but let me tell you about what I had to do and what
Yeah.
your grandmother had to do, or your grandfather, or whoever it may be, right? Just trying to maybe talk to them about that, and have them get some understanding of work ethic and hard things. Because I don't know, if anybody's got that secret formula, I'd love to know it,
I know.
because I
It's
think
a
we
real
so badly
challenge.
want to pass on to our kids that frame of mind and that work ethic. And my dad always said to me, and I say it to my kids all the time, they complain about, this or that. I said, when I was working and I would complain, my dad would say, and that's why they pay you to be there.
Mm,
That was always his response. That's why they
yeah.
pay you,
Yeah.
you know? So I'm trying the best I can, but I certainly don't have any type of magic formula,
No
especially,
secret
when you think
sauce
about
yet.
what's that?
No secret sauce yet. We'll figure this out. You know, it's hard. It's hard to convey that, but I think obviously like the narrative's important, and the witnessing of a hard worker is super important, and also you coming at it like, I get to do this job.
Yeah.
I try to shift that mindset a little with my kids. Not, I don't have to work. I mean, I do have to work. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I have to work, but I also get to work, and I get to do a job that I actually am interested in. And that's what I think is even harder, because some of those other jobs that you mentioned, maybe they were not passion infusing, but they got the job done, so to speak. They, supported you, supported your family at that
Yeah.
time, you know.
Yeah. And then you have goals to do more. And that's really, even if you're not working, if you're just in high school or whatever, then you should be shooting for that next thing, to what are you trying to achieve and how are you going to get there. And there's really no, I've never seen it. There's no real shortcut around just hard work.
I know. There really isn't. I agree with you. As looking at I just want to really focus, because I think even what you mentioned at Duane Morris, the WINS program, the different ways that we can do better as organizations, quite honestly, to support families during this time. Are there any other kind of experiences you've had or things you've learned from that would help us, do better, or that you felt like helped you do better in supporting that aspect of your job?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I've had experiences where in hindsight, I wish I was more vocal about either, let me just give you an example. There was a woman that I worked with, at my prior firm, and we got like a notice of a TRO at like 9 o'clock at night. And the Dallas County local rules say you get 2 hours notice. Okay. So they thought they were giving us a gift, and they basically said, we'll see you at 8 a.m. because, they've given us 11 hours notice at
Oh,
9 o'clock at night. And so we were talking to her, and I was talking to the general counsel on the phone about how we were going to plan for this and what we're going to do. And I said, okay, we finished our calls about, I don't know, midnight. And I just said, to the female attorney, I was like, hey, just meet me at the office at 4 in the morning. We'll gather everything that we can, and we'll go make our arguments at 8.
mm,
And this is an excellent attorney. Still is a wonderful attorney. Was then, is now. Still a friend. I was texting with her this week. Um, and she called me about 4:30 or 5. She was not there, and she said, "You know what? I thought she didn't let me know, but I guess her husband was out of town."
Oh
and she
boy.
was trying to get childcare that early in the morning.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so number one, I wish I would have asked about that.
Mm,
And number two, she couldn't get childcare. So I ended up going to do the hearing myself, which was completely fine. Right. We worked it out, and then she jumped back into the case like that afternoon.
yeah.
And she then, not long after, and I don't think it was because of this, although I don't think this helped. She went in house, and she's got 2 children, and she's been in house since then. If I look at what I can do better, I would have been more aware of saying, meet you at the office at 4 a.m., right?
Yeah.
About just the logistics of all that, right? First of all. And then second of all, like, it was completely fine that she couldn't make it in at that hour, because that kind of stuff happens on short notice.
Yeah.
And I wish I would have been more vocal about, hey, it's no big deal. Like, we got past it. We got an entire case together now to handle. You're back.
Yeah.
And so, that's something that stuck with me. I had another example of just an excellent female attorney. We had a month-long arbitration in Houston, and she had to be away from her family, and I don't know, and there were a lot of other circumstances that led to her going in house. But again, I think some of these things that have happened where I've had to bring along younger female associates that are moms, I think in hindsight, I could have done a better job of communicating with them about ways to make it more palatable, because there are ways, right? I mean, during
But
that
we're
month
learning
long,
those ways. I
yeah,
think
I
those
mean,
are ways that we're learning, and that's what's so
yeah,
important, because at the time, like, and even looking back, I mean, I'm putting myself in the 4:30 a.m. mom's position.
yeah,
Like, obviously we could speak up and say something, but we want to do the work. Like, it's a very difficult dynamic, even if you have a compassion. Like, I have a very, when I had all my kids, Joe was my boss. He was so compassionate. Like, but it's almost stuff I put on myself. So it's kind of difficult also
yeah,
being, a supervisor, especially in that dynamic when there's a lot of complicated desires, emotions, and hopes of that person wanting to
yeah.
show up when it just doesn't work. And sometimes it just doesn't work. And you have to be able
That's
to say,
fine. And I guess
right,
what I said I would want to communicate better is, okay, and let's move on,
let's go.
right? And let's
Yeah.
move ahead together. We're a team. This is our team for this case. You're on my team. You're going to be on my team. And I think the more that's accepted, I think and there are a lot of different reasons people go in house, by the way. But for the people that may feel like they have to, I would, and I'm not saying that was the case in either of these situations, but you want, for the people that are interested in staying in private practice, you want to have, like, it be clear to them that, like, you're okay with things that have to be missed because of childcare or family obligations. Because, again, who should know? I have 4 kids myself.
I know.
That's what, and so I guess that's my regret, is like, I would completely support that, but maybe I've not communicated that enough, right? Maybe I've not been as open about that as I
Well, now
should.
everyone's going to know. So you know what? That's one of the advantages.
It's out there now, I guess.
It's out there now. And I think, you are someone that's leading by example, which is definitely setting you apart. And your passion for this and wanting to learn and do more is also absolutely, striking to me. And I know you were very brave coming in here and sharing your story. So I want to give you a lot of kudos for that. But I think one of my questions is, like, what do you hope that, like, these kinds of conversations how they will help fathers and mothers and sort of that next generation? What would be your hope for them?
Well, I think the hope is that the conversations are happening, where you are talking about, okay, here's what I've got going on at home, here's what I've got going on at work, and that, hopefully your boss or your leader is receptive to that, so that everyone, is making their best efforts to handle both responsibilities, which are, equally important. And I think my examples that I've given where I can do better, if I had communicated more, maybe it would have been a different result.
Yeah.
And so I think just communicating and awareness, I guess, right? Awareness of all the things that
Totally.
people have going on, because I still, to this day, as much as I am trying to learn and understand and be aware, we all get stuck in that mode of something's happening at work. I got to respond. We got to talk to the client. We got to do this. You're thinking of all these to do. But in that to-do list is, okay, but where are you at? Are you good?
Yeah.
Is your spouse out of town? Is somebody sick? Like, okay, we got somebody else. We get somebody else to hop in and help.
Right.
It doesn't mean you're fired from the case
Yeah.
or you're going to get docked at comp time or any of that. It just means, hey, that's what we got to deal with.
Yeah.
And we all have those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe somebody picks you up this time and helps. There could be a time down the road where they need your help and you're going to step in and help them. And I would say that's a benefit if you're thinking about staying in a law firm environment that you have, is if you are functioning like a team, which we all should be,
right.
Then you have these people here to help, right? And you have a way to get through it to where it's not really making a choice, right? It's just you're handling your family business, and then you come back in and you jump in with your team when you can get back from that.
But that's a very unique quality of a firm in some ways. We've talked to a lot of different firms, partners, and I think the fact that your concept of a team environment and that you're all utility players and you can shift and step in when you need to, like, that's the kind of firm that I would want to work at. And I don't think they're all built like that. So it's pretty refreshing to hear you describe it in that manner. And it's also, one of the other really important call outs that we do share, especially for young obviously lawyer moms in this instance, is but do your research and find the firms that actually support and create environments and cultures that will allow you that ability to, because some people really want to be in a firm. They work so hard and this was their dream. I went to a great firm and I realized even before I had kids, wow, this was not how I thought it was supposed to work out. And I was out 2.5 years and I went in-house and I loved my in-house career. It was perfect for me. But it was like I was getting divorced. I loved that firm. I wanted to be part of that, and kind of seeing the disillusionment for me was a real grief-filled transition, where if I had maybe approached it differently, or was a different person at the time, maybe I would still be in that environment. But I think it's a real call out to do research into the firms that are going to be very aligned with what you're looking for and how you want to live your life.
And don't forget about your two modest, but what you and Joe have done with GC West is an amazing example of that, because I've worked with many members of your teams that are moms, and they're excellent lawyers. And I'll also put in the plug for GC West. Also, the best Father's Day gifts out there. So it's about to be that time. So I don't know.
We're so excited. Oh, you're going to be so excited. I won't tell you. I'm not going to spoil the surprise, but that is one of my biggest values, or I guess, not maybe not on my epitaph, but one of my favorite things that we came up with at this firm was to celebrate wonderful fathers, wonderful moms. And John, it gives me a lot of joy to write you that note and to celebrate who you are. And I think, especially after this conversation, I'll have a lot more to share, just being able to hear more about how intentional you are about being a dad and being an amazing professional. I want to leave with one more question. It's not a pop quiz question, but I kind of want to give you the floor to speak to your daughters in particular.
Yeah.
And what you'd want them to know if they have aspirations towards having a career and being a mother, sort of what you would hope for them and how you would want them to be supported.
Yeah. Well, I would tell them that nothing's going to stop you from doing it all. And don't forget about your dad. He's going to always be here for you. Because I tell them that every day. I say, hey, you go take on the world. And, dad's here to catch you, and I hope that gives them confidence that dad is always going to be here. Go attack the world, and dad's going to be here to support you. But I would hope that they would know that they can do, it's such a cliche, but you can do anything you want. I just think you also just have to be receptive to the idea that it's not going to be a necessarily linear path. And I think so many of your guests are excellent examples of having amazing careers, and they've been so resilient. They've battled through conflicts. They've dealt with all sorts of things, but they keep going. Mm-hmm. And they keep going and attacking their career goals and their family goals. And it's not just this perfect path. And so I guess I'd want them to know, figure out what you want to do, attack it. If it doesn't work, let's come up with a new plan and let's attack that. And whether that's professional as being a professional lawyer or accountant or whatever, while being a mom, just attack it and know you've got a support system around you, and just keep going. I think that's it, Carrie. I think that's what I've learned from your guests before, is
I
that
love it.
there are going to be things that aren't exactly perfect, and they've all kept going, and they've all achieved, and they've been that's been really inspiring to me. I mean, when I was preparing for this, the top of my notes after listening to the podcast and talking is the group of people that you've had, including yourself and Joe and your group. Everybody's very resilient. They are just really resilient in how they attack their personal and professional lives.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a really great word. And I think it is a very accurate reflection of remaining resilient when you want to be able to thrive professionally and help you and your family shine in this incredibly precious time. Like it is like
Yeah.
I think one of the great themes that you've reminded me today is just how short of a time it is, and to be there for your family and for your firm in a meaningful way to support people trying to do both really well. It just really does set you apart. And I'm really, really, really grateful that you came on today, shared your stories, and really provided an important perspective for so
Yeah.
many of us out there. So thank you for joining. I will, if you have any other last words of wisdom, I don't want to lose the opportunity, but you can always come back on the show whenever you feel like it.
Well, never need an excuse to get to Newport Beach, so I now insist on the next one being in person.
Perfect.
Um,
Let's do it.
but I would just close with what I tell my kids every day, and I said, love you, proud of you, go dominate. So that's how
Awesome.
I'd
I
finish.
love it. Well, way to dominate today, and we are
Yeah.
really grateful for your time. Thank you so much,
Thank
John.
you.
Thank you so much, John, for joining the Mothers-in-Law podcast. I truly enjoyed such a thoughtful and honest conversation, and I really appreciated the connection between leadership and real life. For law firms, the lesson in this podcast is direct. If we want to retain talented mothers, fathers have to be part of the culture change. Flexibility, caregiving, ambition, and leadership can exist together, but only when leaders are willing to model that in visible and practical ways. Thank you so much for listening to the Mothers-in-Law. If this episode resonated with you, please share it. Thanks for joining.
You've been listening to The Mothers-in-Law with Carrie Fogliani. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you found the insights and stories shared helpful as you navigate your own journey. I also hope that you enjoyed listening to my mother, not that I always do. For more resources, to connect with the community, and to continue exploring how to align your personal and professional life, visit www.themothersinlaw.com. We appreciate you.